I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website rickackerman.com. Welcome back to the show, Rick.
Thanks for inviting me on, Jim. Always a pleasure.
The tariff war. We've just had another international analyst say that it's really going to slow down the worldwide economy, and that's not a good thing if you want healthy business around the planet, because that's good for everybody. What's your opinion on the tariff war? Could this be what brings down the stock market?
Well, it's really brinksmanship played out on a global scale, and we don't doubt at this point that Trump is a man of his word. He says he's going to do something. He's not just threatening. For better or worse, he's made good on those threats with respect to a broad range of tariffs, which conceivably, within the next couple of months, could involve virtually everything we import from China. I gave up trying to add up the tariffs, but a congressman did the other day, and I think we're talking about something in excess of $300 billion, but it's already started to hit in the heartland. Not that the farmers needed even greater difficulty and adversity in their lives. So an already down and out farm belt is getting hit particularly hard by Chinese effective embargoes on soybeans and some other crops. So when you compare this to the Smoot-Hawley days, Smoot-Hawley passed in 1930, but well before that, I think it passed the House in the summer of 1929. There's some theorists out there who purport to be tracking the ups and downs of the market, a market that was at that point seemingly ruled by headlines concerning Smoot-Hawley. But I would say that the actual effects of this tariff war probably exceed those at this time of summer in 1929, and yet we've got the market trading at all-time highs. The market did make a top in August of 29 and a secondary top a couple months later. So there's still a comparison to be made, but to me it feels like the market's out of its mind if it can't reflect any danger at all in the outcome of the tariff war.
What kind of reaction did you expect, and why is it so shocking there hasn't been a reaction?
Well, I think it demonstrates that there's no rational thought process behind this bull market. It's simply the imperative of other people's money having to go somewhere. And you got all these chimpanzees who are good at throwing money at 5 or 6 stocks. That's how they make their living. They buy Amazon and they buy Apple, and that's pretty much it. And so they're not exactly geniuses, but the money is still flowing into the markets and flowing into many markets, most particularly private equity. And so you get to thinking it's a perpetual motion machine. How could it all end? I can assure you it will, and probably in a way that we're not easily able to imagine right now. You can sort of see it coming, but you can never describe in advance exactly how.
Could we be getting a warning sign from California where house sales are down, people are slashing prices, and a lot of people are resorting to using their houses' equity as a way to pay their bills, exactly the same thing that happened back in 2006 in that crash? Well,
we won't know the actual figures until things crash. and I saw something very interesting the other day, that the 2007 and 8 housing crash didn't occur because there was a glut of housing. It points out that in key markets, San Francisco being one of them, or New York being another, the prices never really broke stride, and I know that myself, having been a renter in California for long enough to price myself out of the market for the home I was actually living in Mountain View. The last few years I was in the Bay Area. So housing sales, I think, have declined for new sales, or maybe it was existing home sales have declined for 6 straight months. And that's definitely a sign of something. The mortgage requirements have tightened somewhat, and the first-time buyer market is pretty much dead, because first-time buyers, for the most part, are living with their parents till they're 30, or would-be first-time buyers. So, yeah, there are a few cracks in the dam there with housing, but the home builders themselves, they've already had kind of a mini crash and are in a, I guess, arguably a recovery mode. So housing is a mixed to negative picture. And, again, you look at the whole universe of possible bad things that could happen, and it's hard to pick and choose which one's going to do us in.
Will the Fed continue to hike rates until there's an obvious crack?
Well, they have ostensible cover. We've got a stock market trading at near all-time highs. We've got joblessness at historic lows. There's a tightness in some labor markets. So I guess on the surface, the Fed has ample reason, or let's say rationale, or cover, better yet, to keep raising rates. And of course, we know that the only reason they raised them in the first place is so that they could bring them down if something should go wrong, which it surely will. So the Fed has a way of over-tightening or over-loosening, whichever way it's going. And I guess for that reason, we can predict, without having a timing element here, we can predict that they're over-tightening now.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after the break.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, Recycling Trade Publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, are you concerned about the currency crises that are happening in places like Argentina, Brazil, Turkey, spreading to North America?
I'm more concerned that the dollar hasn't really responded as a safe haven. The dollar's been under weakness. Strictly speaking, using my hidden pivot method, the dollar tripped a mechanical buy signal about a month ago. But it's been hit so hard that I'm starting to doubt that this beautifully developed, ostensibly bullish pattern in the dollar is going to pan out. I still haven't given up on it, but there has been a definite turn away from the dollar. Very, very fascinating interview between Greg Hunter at USA Watchdog and Catherine Austin Phipps. She's really a terrific out-of-the-box thinker, and she said that China has simply gone in the direction of they're taking money that they might otherwise plow into U.S. treasuries, and they're putting it into trade infrastructure that will essentially facilitate much expanded trade between China and Europe, and China and the rest of Asia. So while we're busy, concerning ourselves with how the Chinese treats its currency, whether they're suppressing or pushing it down in order to reap a trade advantage, we're kind of missing a much bigger picture that the Chinese are addressing, a kind of long-term plan that cuts the U.S. out of the trade benefits that are going to come to China from this infrastructural investment.
The One Belt, One Road philosophy and construction.
Well, they're doing a lot of things. We're kind of focused on the wrong problem here. We see China as our foe, and we're concerned about what they're doing in the South China Sea. Of course, at the military level, China is a concern there, but at the economic level, they're just doing smart things. We're not used to thinking about the sophistication and subtlety of what they might be doing. We're sort of going blunt force in these tariff policies against something that's it's kind of it's not the true dragon, really.
Well, when you're doing things like let's bring coal back, that's not the direction the rest of the world is going in, is it?
No, and I think that can only go so far. I think it's great that Trump, at least symbolically, he's reviving certain U.S. industries, but there's no practical and enduring value in stimulating coal production. It'll be good for a certain part of the U.S., and I think that we can cope with the carbon footprint that this generates. So, on balance, I don't see much harm there.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after this.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, marijuana becomes recreationally legally available in Canada October 17th. What kind of plays do you see in the marijuana space?
How are you going to celebrate, Jim?
Just another day at work for me.
Me too. I came from Colorado, and I got to experience the legalization there. I would say, from a practical standpoint, it wasn't as bad as some of the opponents of marijuana legalization feared. Although there were a few rear-end collisions that seemed to have combined that deadly combination of texting and being under the influence of marijuana. When those two things are together in one driver, you're bound to have an accident. But it's not as though things changed so much there that you could notice the difference. But at the investment level, there's so many players in the game, and they're all making extravagant promises about having the leading edge. But it's such a, I think it's only big business that's going to benefit, and a lot of small guys are going to get pushed out. There's enormous money to be made on the wholesale and the retail side of marijuana, and you can see that with all the double truck ads that appear in the local, like the Shopper or the Freebie newspapers. So there's huge money there. But, I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation, and it's really too hard at this point to pick the winners that are going to come on the medical marijuana side. I think it's medical marijuana is a fabulous thing, and it seems it's almost ridiculous that medical science is waiting for the quote unquote evidence, but anecdotally there's evidence that marijuana cures for or is good for just about anything that ails you. You know, I know numerous people who have benefited from marijuana in controlling seizures, nausea, migraines. It's definitely a miracle drug. But even with all the anecdote pushing marijuana, you'd think there'd be a lot of business just starting to mushroom from it, but that's not the case. It's like medical science says, well, you got to show us. And, so these things take so long, the lead time is so long, and there's so many players to sort out that I've given up. When one of my subscribers comes up with the name or symbol of some marijuana-based company, I'll do a technical analysis to try to figure out where the stock's going, but at a fundamental level, there's too much to sort out.
Well, it's so new, there isn't any track record to look at, is there?
Well, there is, but it's so helter-skelter and it's so difficult. In Colorado, when Hickenlooper was governor, he made a full-court press, really, to get the Federal Reserve to allow these marijuana stores to use the banks, but even with that push, the Federal Reserve said, sorry, no can do. And so at the federal level, there's still this resistance, which goes, you can go back to 1960, when Lenny Bruce was talking about how all of his lawyer friends smoked marijuana, and that for that reason, that, they were all going to become congressmen and it would become legal. But that was, almost 60 years ago, and it's still not legal in every state. It's still got its problems. And, in Colorado, you could see that the federal government did as much as they're going to do at this point, which is, look, if you just enforce your local laws and really enforce them rigorously, we'll stay out of your hair. So just to make the point, the feds came in, and they started shutting down a lot of existing marijuana businesses that happened to violate the rule about how close they can be to schools and churches. So the government came in, they mopped up, and they left. But anybody in the marijuana business, and this could include the medical side of it, is in for that kind of treatment. The federal government refuses to clarify the laws, and, they can kind of regulate things at will. So it just makes the investment environment very uncertain.
Plus, we've had U.S. Customs tell us that any Canadian who invests in marijuana, works in a marijuana store, or admits to using marijuana faces a lifetime ban from the U.S.
I wasn't aware of that, but that doesn't surprise me, I mean, there's such, the regulations are so uneven. It's almost like the IRS code. You can't really know what's on their mind.
Well, it's ironic. It'll be legal in British Columbia. It's legal in Washington State. But if you cross that invisible line, all of a sudden you've broken a U.S. law.
Right. And that line is pretty much invisible, or if it's not invisible, it's surely gray enough that you don't know where it is. So, I wish him lots of luck.
Rick, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Always a pleasure.
My guest has been Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks. His website, rickackerman.com. If you have any questions for Rick or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.